Welcome councillors, staff, those from the public joining us in the gallery today, and for those watching on live stream. Okay, you will see the agenda come up on the screen, and so the first item, of course, is for me to open the meeting, and I would like to do so by just sharing a little background for the community. So since amalgamation in 2008, the South Bennett Regional Council has operated under a divisional electoral arrangement whereby councillors are elected within a geographic division. Council has 6 divisions in total, spanning across an approximate 8,500 square kilometres. Regional councils in Queensland operate under one of 2 systems, being either divisional or non-divisional. At Council's ordinary monthly meeting held on the 22nd of February, the following motion was moved by Councillor Shoemaker and seconded by Councillor Henshin. The South Bennett Regional Council advised the Minister responsible for local government and the Electoral Commission that South Bennett Regional Council request the Change Commission to conduct a review of Council's electoral arrangements to go from a divided to an undivided local government area. Both councillors put forward strong arguments espousing the benefits of removing divisions and divisional councillors and moving to a non-divisional electoral system. Following some discussion and debate, the following amendment was passed by a majority of council. That South Bennett Regional Council write to the Director-General of Local Government seeking clarification as to the process and deadline associated with a potential application to move from a divided to an undivided local government area. Once a resolution of council such as this is passed, it must be enacted. As such, the CEO has been in contact with the Department of Local Government and provides a report in today's agenda. The special meeting was then called by myself at the request of council to address this matter as soon as possible, and under our policy for the purposes of receiving the CEO's report and providing council with an opportunity to consider the options after hearing this report. The matter has been the subject of much commentary around the region since the 22nd of February, and I'm hopeful that from today's meeting, our council can provide some clarity to the people of our region as to council's intentions moving forward in relation to Councillor Shoemaker's motion that we go from a divided to an undivided local government area. So that's the background. I hope that helps clarify for the community. The next item then is leave of absence and apologies, and I believe we have everyone here for that, so there's no one there. Item 3 is the prayers, and I'd like to now share with everybody the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Okay, councillors, do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? No? We're happy to move forward? Okay. All right, well, we'll go on to Mr. CEO, your report, if we could. Thank you. Yep.
Just a point of order, Mr. Mayor. Just in relation to, you made the comment that you called the special meeting at the request of council. I don't actually recall.
Oh, no, I didn't say at the request of council.
Sorry,
at the request of council that we deal with the matter as soon as possible. Yeah, so at the meeting, if you go back and watch the video, councillor, you will recall council, we said if the CEO could have his report back to us as soon as possible so that we could deal with the matter in terms of timeframes. I've watched the video and we clearly said that.
So the purpose of the special meeting, when this could be dealt with within normal...
Yeah, council, the purpose of the special meeting, the reason, so under the council's policy, the mayor or 3 councillors can call a special meeting. The reason for having this special meeting was to act in accordance with council's wishes that we deal with it as soon as possible in light of any particular timeframes. I'm sure if you go back and watch the video, that was said at the meeting. That's the first thing. It definitely was said. Hand on heart, it was said. Secondly, the CEO's got his report. It's ready to deliver. And the third thing, your point is, we've got a lot of meetings coming up with some big agendas. We've got the budget to bring down. We've got big budget committee meetings. We've got large meetings in relation to committee meetings. And our agendas are going to be really full. And I'm not sure how much time council wants to discuss this, but I wanted to make sure that our council had the opportunity to discuss it at a separate meeting without being rushed through one of those other meetings that can often go long into the afternoon. So that's the reason for the special
So
meeting.
just to confirm, you did call the special meeting?
As I
Mr.
said in
Mayor,
my opening here, as I just said, and I'll say it again,
and it wasn't the request of council to have a special meeting?
no, I
was a
did not say it
request-
was at the request of council. I said it was at the request of council to deal with the matter promptly or as soon as possible, which is what was said at the meeting on the 22nd of February.
I don't think that aligns with the resolution, but anyhow, thank you.
Councillor, it's what was said at the meeting, so I acted accordingly. Thank you. Okay, right. Now, where are we up to? Declarations of conflict of interest. Do we have any? All right. Then, Mr. CEO, would you be so kind as to provide us with your report? Thank you. We'll come back to you later. Thank you, Councillor Duff, if we could. Oh, we haven't got that on the agenda. Okay, so Councillor Duff, could you provide the recognition of traditional owners? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge country and the land where we meet this morning, the Waka land of the Waka people, and acknowledge the elders both past, present and emerging. Thank you.
Right. Mr. CEO, your report.
Thanks, Mayor. Short and sweet, I think. Certainly, the resolution that was passed at the last, my apologies if you can't hear, at the last council meeting is in the report. We've kept it sweet. The departmental guidelines are attached. It's been many years since been engaged in this process, so it was nice to touch base. The resolution did say, but I'd write to the Director General, but given the timeframes, I actually contacted the Principal Regional Advisor Southern, the Local Government Division and the Department of State Development, Infrastructure and Local Government and Planning to assist. She was the lady that I was put on to as far as the best to talk to. Why she was the best, the Minister recently considered the Ipswich City Council change in this process, so she's been literally just through it with the Minister bringing down. Really, the report, we didn't put a recommendation in the report saying where Council wanted to go, but it is the realistic, so the guidelines, it is a guideline. The questions I asked, is the timeframe realistic? Yes, it is. The Change Commission draws a number of its members from the Electoral Commission, so they're pretty tied up now as working with. There's a lot of legwork they suggest is done by a council before they submit the request. Ipswich, for example, put 6 months in. Toowoomba, and it's public record, Toowoomba put through a resolution similar the other day, so they've requested their CEO do up a report back in October and then prior to submission. The other question I asked was there a time frame or a deadline when you could make a request? You can make a request at any time, but the 2 years is realistic, Mayor. Other than that, happy to take questions, but the guidelines step out the process. There's a link in the report that takes you to the departmental website, how to change local government arrangements. Again, it's pretty steps it through. Certainly, the department is, they can't tell us what to do, but they strongly recommend that a process of engagement and building a business case, even if there is a request to change, the Minister won't necessarily, or the Change Commission won't necessarily recommend change unless there's a demonstrated benefit for it.
Okay, Councillor Jones.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to put forward a recommendation that the report be received for information, noting that the divisions will remain in place for the 2024 election, and noting that the divisional arrangements would be only considered by the Council after the 2024 elections, should they deem them necessary.
Can you just reread that for our officer,
that
please?
the report be received for information, noting that the divisions will remain in place for the 2024 election, and noting that the divisional arrangements would be only considered by the Council after the 2024 elections, should they deem necessary.
Okay, do we have a second? Councillor Potter, second. Councillor Jones, speak to your motion. Thank you.
Yeah, I do, Mr Mayor, and I just want to acknowledge the people in the through you that have taken the time out of their day to turn up here today. I've read all the emails that have come in. I haven't responded. I haven't responded to anyone. So it's the fact that I have read them. I think it's an unfair decision of this council, considering the time frame around 2 years. Now, for a new council to be elected in 12 months, not one person may be sitting in this chamber again. It might be a whole new council. And I think that is something that's probably unfair to the people that are coming in. At least we all know as new councillors when we come in, you don't just get up and take the ball and start running. It takes a while to get your feet under the desk and understand what goes on in local government. And I think it's only fair to the new council when it's elected in 12 months' time to give them the opportunity to get their feet under the table and give them a good opportunity. And the people have spoken, like there's a lot of people out there that don't want them, and the people in the chamber here this morning would be a majority that don't want them. And I said when we discussed this, I don't really care which way you go, I'll go with the majority, and community consultation needs to be done on this. And I don't think it's been rushed, it's put some fear into the people in the community simply because they haven't had time to think about it, they haven't had time to respond to it properly, and the community consultation, for us to make a decision either way today and change it, would be unfair to the people in our region. So I think that that's the reason behind my proposal. I've thought long and hard about it. I have been approached from both sides of the fence, and quite clearly, some want it and some don't. But at this stage, I just think it's an unfair decision for this council to make, putting it onto the people so quickly and asking them to give a response. And then the 2-year time frame simply is going to put pressure on the new council coming in. So this council makes a decision that will have a huge effect on the new council. And Mr CEO in his report has clearly stated that the time frame of 2 years is realistic. So that's going to put us 12 months into the new term. So that's the reasons, and I can, if need be, I can finish off in closing comments, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jones. Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. For some reason, and I don't know why, that all the emails that we've had through and the people I've spoken to actually thought we were voting here today whether we're going to be a divided or undivided council, which is totally not our job. You know, it says here in this particular report here that the proposal needs to detail the change sought and set out the public benefits sought to be achieved through the change. Most proposals will need to demonstrate support from the community and the affected local governments for the change and consider whether the change is consistent with the local government principles as set out. Now, you know, I've had quite a few discussions with people. Most of them have been against divisions, and I will stand by whatever the community says on this. But my personal belief is that we do need to have a plebiscite with this, because this needs to be a full community vote. This is not to do with us. This is to do with the community. This is their choice. This is their vote, and they should be the ones that are coming forth and voting for it. So this is why I agree with this. We'll leave it to the next council, and then they can actually bring it forth. But I truly believe that we need to go to a plebiscite, because that's a direct vote of all the members of an electorate on such an important public question. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor Hensham.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, through you. Yes, and welcome to everyone in the gallery and the people out there watching, that's for sure. It's created some conversation, and I'll reread the South Burnett Regional Council and Councillor Shoemaker's resolution, that it was simply to write to the General of Local Government seeking clarification. So, Councillor Shoemaker, you asked that, and you've got plenty of questions and got plenty of responses and assumptions. And I'll refer to a little comparison with an assumption that everybody thought we were going to build a new memorial park for $30 million. We're not building a new memorial park for $30 million, Mr Mayor. We're going through the same process that we're doing here today. We're doing consultation, and that will take years. As Councillor Jones has alluded to, it's certainly not, and at the time the question was asked, and the clarification has come back to us, that it's a 2-year process. And Mr Mayor, that is just unachievable to think that this council would vote on something that's going to affect, as Councillor Jones has said, the next incoming councillors at the next election. That being said, that term, in realistic terms, is actually 5 years before you would even consider that. So you have 1 year to go in this term, and there's 4 years in the next term. And if the next council was to take that on board and want to debate it with the community, that is a minimum of 5 years from now. So we're staying divisional until then. So I just want to make that very clear to the people in the gallery. Thank you.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Jones, for your motion. Certainly the motion I moved was seeking clarification for the process and the deadline, which I recognise could be dealt with in an ordinary meeting process and did not require a special meeting. I do believe for the Mayor to call a special meeting to discuss this outside the meeting cycle is an interesting way to utilise the authority the region gives that position. In speaking with residents in Proston, Nanango and Kingaroy just over the weekend, many said they were worried the purpose of the special meeting was to make a decision to go or to not go undivided today. We've received many emails from residents, thank you for your emails, who were concerned they didn't have an opportunity to express their view. As per the report, no change can occur without extensive community consultation. All residents must be given an opportunity to express their view and a reasonable time frame to prepare a submission for this is a minimum of 2 years. The purpose of my recommendation was to start a conversation, to ask ourselves what if. There is clearly some serious work that needs to be done when it comes to team building and understanding of what consultation means. As a ratepayer has said to me, a rushed decision is rarely a good one, and I believe there is no urgency. I think it's important we ask ourselves these questions. As a leader, as a councillor of this region, constituents put forward their view to me. They asked me, perhaps we should remove divisions. I brought their views forward. I also think it's important we stop and always consider how we're tracking, because if we don't consider how things are, ask ourselves, are they working and could they be different? Well, how are we ever to improve? There are many questions that we all have to be answered if we were to go divisional, and I accept that. I'd like the opportunity to discuss this with the community through a proper process, and I believe these discussions are not to be rushed or forced with a special meeting. So I'm supportive of the motion of leaving it lay on the table until the next election for the next council to consider, and was given the advice that the proper process was to consider this after our electoral review, which we have just done. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. If I could just clarify comments made by two councillors for the community. There has been some misleading statements made by you both. If you go back and watch the video of the last meeting, Councillor Shoemaker, your motion was not to seek clarification. Your motion was as follows. The South Bennett Regional... Can I please finish?
I saw it.
No, your motion was as follows. That the South Bennett Regional Council advise the Minister responsible for local government and the Electoral Commission that South Bennett Regional Council request the Change Commission conduct a review of Council's electoral arrangements to go from a divided to an undivided local government area. In speaking against your motion, I then indicated that I felt blindsided. I had no idea this was coming to the chamber, and the community felt blindsided when you said that a review be undertaken to go from a divided to an undivided local government area. I felt that there had been no consultation with the community on the matter, and then I made it clear in the meeting that the Minister wouldn't even consider it unless we could demonstrate broad community support for it. I then went on to move an amendment. Councillors, it wasn't your motion. I then went on to move an amendment that South Bennett Regional Council write to the Director of Local Government seeking clarification as to the process and deadline associated with the potential application to move from a divided to undivided local government area. Now, the reason for my amendment was to shut down your motion that we write requesting that we go from a divided to an undivided. on the basis that we didn't understand the process, we didn't understand the time frame, and I thought we needed more information as a council before we considered it, particularly in relation to our requirement as a council to consult our community. Now, the minister was not going to accept that application from us unless we could demonstrate that we had consulted our community. And to ask our CEO and his staff to put together what Toowoomba Council now tell me is a massive process to write to the minister and put an application forward without having consulted the community, I thought was rushing it. I thought your motion was rushing it, because your motion was that we go from an undivided to a divided, that we put to the minister that we go from a divided to an undivided local government area, and we asked the Change Commission to review that. Now, let me finish, please. I've got 5 minutes. Let me finish. That was your motion. It's clearly in the minutes, and clearly the minutes show that I redirected council to get some advice first before we went down this path. And we did say at the time, in the discussion, that we would like that as soon as possible so that we could then clarify this. Now, the purpose of this meeting, community, is to give you some certainty. Now, since your motion, Councillor Shoemaker, it has created issues in the community. People have been talking about this. It has created uncertainty and anxiety. My desire to call this special meeting was to allow the CEO to present his report so that we could give some certainty to the community as to what council's intention is in response to your motion, because it had started a conversation in the community that, as the mayor, I was keen to see us deal with it. I absolutely support everything Councillor Jones has said. This has been rushed. I was blindsided by this. There was no consultation with the chamber beforehand. It came to a meeting off the cuff, and I don't think it's right that we should make this decision to put this to the Change Commission and embark on a 2-year process that's going to require significant resources, cost to the ratepayer, and it's not fair to put that on the next council. I completely support, and Councillor Jones and I were on the same page on day one from this. This is a matter for the people. I also support Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Potter. This should be decided by the people, not by those of us in this room. It should be decided by the people. And if that's by sending out something with a rates notice and getting a response from the people, however we do it, I don't mind, but we need to make sure that we've got a clear understanding that there's a majority of support for this before anything goes to the minister. So yes, I did feel your motion was rushed. I did feel blindsided, and I think the community was surprised to see this come out when there'd been no conversation with them prior to that. The reason for this meeting is to try and put it to rest so we can all move forward and take the uncertainty out for the community.
Mr Mayor, just further to your statements, my original motion, yes, did state to conduct a review and to provide information back to council. It was not stating that we
And it did not say that, Councillor.
It states in the original motion, and regardless of that...
No, it does not say that, Councillor. It says to provide a review to go from a divided to an undivided local government area. Please do not confuse the community
I am not
as to what your
confusing the
intention
community.
was.
I am stating my true, honest intention, Mr Mayor, and I feel that you are taking liberation with that. I also supported your amendment, Mr Mayor. I supported the conversation in the council chamber, and if you actually have a look at the minutes on page 10, where the amendment became the resolution, I moved the amendment. I moved
Councillor, sorry.
the amendment that South Burnett
Councillor,
Regional
you did
Council-
not move the amendment.
I did too. Page 2 of the meeting minutes on council.
I'm sorry,
page.
you did not move the amendment.
Would you like me to show you?
Today's agenda is a misstatement. If you go back to the minutes, Mr CEO, which I checked this
Mr. CEO,
morning.
could you confirm that?
Okay, so the debate is getting around a meeting procedure. So a resolution is moved, and I'm going to go simple, I'm sorry, just to illustrate the point. Councillor Duff loves pink, so she moves the clubhouse be painted pink, and she really dislikes blue. The amendment is moved that we paint the clubhouse blue. That's moved by Councillor Henshin. That's voted up. It's still recorded because the amendment becomes the resolution. So the minutes will reflect that Councillor Duff moved that we paint the clubhouse blue.
Mr CEO, I checked the minutes this morning, and your minutes say that it was moved by Councillor Otto and seconded by Councillor Potter.
Yep,
They
that's
are
correct,
what
Mayor.
is in the minutes.
Yep, that's the amendment component of it, which
Correct.
is, yes,
So can you please clarify for the community
Yep, yep.
that Councillor Shoemaker's intention
Sorry.
in the original motion was we write to the minister to go from a divided to an undivided council, and that I moved to clarify, I moved that we seek clarification from the minister before we proceed.
I'll state a process. I can't speak for intention.
I'm concerned that we're muddying the water for our community here. We need to be clear about this.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. And what we're doing is having a debate now about so you're both, but you're both correct, because the original motion was moved by Councillor Shoemaker. The amendment was moved by Councillor Otto and Councillor Potter. The amendment got carried 6-1, so it became the resolution. So then the minutes, because it becomes the resolution, so then the minutes are recorded with the original mover against it. Now, whether that was the intention or not, but it is, you're not wrong. It's certainly not incorrect, Mayor. It's that the minutes reflect that you and Councillor Potter moved the amendment, and they also reflect that Councillor Shoemaker and Henshin moved the original resolution, and then the amendment becomes a resolution, so it still picks up those two original movers. It's just a process.
Yeah, it is a process. Thank you, Mr. CEO. It's a technical matter. I think we've discussed this technical matter. I think the community is probably thinking this is trivial. It probably is. Let's get back to the subject at hand. Councillor Erkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I would like to thank Councillor Shoemaker for bringing the matter to the council for discussion. I can see both sides of the argument. I know as a voter, many times I have sat and watched in different elections over the years where I've only had one, that I haven't had no choice to vote for anyone because there's only been one nomination. And I have seen other divisions where I've seen a number of excellent nominees. And I thought, gee, I wish we could have, both two of those in or whatever. So I can see that side. But I also see that our community are still upset about amalgamation. Most people, and, I'm one of them, I'm upset that I felt the ownership of our shire was taken and put into the region. And there's a lot of people I do know who feel like that. But as I said, I do see the benefits of both sides. However, I would never be voting on it without the consent of my division. And I believe, as I said in the last meeting, one of my only concerns is if we go to community consultation, that it is done fairly and completely, not half a dozen people complain to a councillor and you come in and say, well, my division want this. It's got to be done properly, and it's got to be the wishes of the whole region. So in that, I would never be voting against what my division want. But I do see the other side on the fact that once you get into council, while I am very keen to make sure that my division is represented, I also believe that I look across the region at what is needed for the region. So it probably comes down to the candidates who stand understanding what their role is when they get into council. Because I have seen, prior to amalgamation, where councillors or sitting councillors have voted, because it is a matter that has been discussed, I know, in Nanango Shire. Sitting councillors were so definite against whole of Shire because they felt they were very secure in their little pocket and they didn't want to be judged by the whole of the Shire. So I can see that can be an issue, and I would never want to be accused of voting against something because I felt safe in my division. But as I said, thank you again to Councillor Shoemaker for bringing it up. I think it's great that we've had the discussion. I also am very supportive of the motion it's silly for us to rush things through, and I don't believe that any of the councillors had any intention of rushing it through. We all, and that was discussed in that meeting, we all wanted to make sure that we consulted with our community before we made any decision on it. So that's my view. I would be doing what my community want, but I would be in here fighting to make sure that everybody in our region definitely has a say in whether they think we want to go undivided or remain divided. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mayor Otto. Yeah, I voted against the original motion because I thought there had been absolutely no consultation whatsoever. I also voted against the amendment because I thought that we needed to go to the community before we even put forward the amendment. And there was an option today, and the reason why the community is concerned is there was an option today to put forward the original motion. We could actually say that we wanted to go to the government and actually start the process. So I actually was totally opposed to that, and I actually don't support this amendment because I think the last words there after 2024 elections, I'd like to move an amendment after broad community consultation, because you've got their 2024 elections should they deem necessary, meaning that if the council decides that they deem it necessary to propose non-divisional, that they start the process without consultation. So I'm not happy with that because in Gympie, when I was first elected, they had an undivided council. And I got continuous complaints from the Gameri end saying that they felt that they were totally unrepresented. So, and it was right across Gympie Council, they actually petitioned the government. So but before that, they actually put it to the vote, and the councillors voted to retain non-divisional council. And the community, because they had petitioned, the government stepped in and they actually put divisions. And that's why now, today, you've got the divisions, and Deputy Mayor Hilary Smurden represents that Gameri end. And I don't get the complaints that I had before, but the council didn't listen to their community and they just kept on that undivided council. So we could make a decision here to enact that and get it going forward, and the government steps in and does that process without even us doing consultation. And we're suggesting here that this next council, term of council, that we just want them to, should they deem necessary. This is all about community. So I'm absolutely supportive, if I can put forward that amendment, that it be after broad community consultation. So I'd like to move an amendment. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, we'll just clarify what we've got there, Councillor Duff, on screen. Kimberly's typed it up as you've been speaking. Are you comfortable with that as the amendment?
Yes,
As
Mr.
on screen?
Mayor.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to second that, so that we have a seconder. Okay, Councillor
Mr. Mayor,
Duff.
could I just ask a question on that amendment?
Yes, Councillor.
I was under the impression that part of the procedure is community consultation. I thought that was part of it.
Oh, if I could just clarify
I
for
just
you.
don't see
Yeah.
the
Yeah, so I can just
point.
clarify for you, and I'll go back to what I said at the original meeting on the 22nd of February. The minister won't consider this unless you can demonstrate that there's broad community support. He will bounce it back to the council. And the motion that came forward to put it to the minister to go from a divided to an undivided was premature, and it would have been seen as premature by the community, by the minister, because the minister would have said to us, "You haven't demonstrated broad community support." Now, as Councillor Potter has said, you know, it's got to be robust. You can't just put out a survey and hope that you get back 1,000 responses. It's got to be robust. We've got to know that we have canvassed, if not all, the vast majority of the people of this region, and that community support is rigid and solid. Otherwise, the minister's not even going to refer it to the Change Commission. So absolutely, had we gone ahead and passed that original motion, I'm very confident the minister would have bounced it back to us, because he would have said, show me where there's been broad community support for this, because that's what the guidelines say. There's two things that have to happen. Number one, there needs to be a motion of council. Number two, there has to be broad community support. Now, yes, the Change Commission will undertake their own community consultation once the process starts. But they won't start a process unless they know that we've demonstrated there's broad community support. So you're absolutely correct in what you say.
So I'm just wondering whether the amendment, whether we need to have that amendment, because that goes without saying that we will be doing that, because that's in the rules. That's the process we need to be following. So I just don't see that the amendment, I just see that that's muddying the waters, and we're swimming in enough muddy waters at the moment.
Well, we did try to put it to the minister without doing that
Yes,
on the 22nd of February, councillor. So I think Councillor Duff's amendment is legitimate, and I think she's entitled to put it forward. It now has a seconder. Councillor Duff, you're entitled to speak to your amendment.
through you, Mr Mayor, we could have made that decision today and then the minister would come back to us and say, no, we can't see the demonstration of broad community consultation. But Gympie did that. Gympie Council just said, we want to stay undivided. So a council has that authority. At the end of the day, the buck stops with us. We're supposed to be an extended arm of the community. So we could move that. That's why I think it's really important that we have after broad community consultation in that particular resolution. So
Okay. We're now debating the amendment. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, I just have one question, Mr Mayor. Why do we need an amendment and why couldn't we have just added after broad community consultation should they deem necessary? Why couldn't we go through a normal process and just add those words to that particular resolution up front exactly the same? After broad community elections, should they deem necessary after broad community consultation? I don't see the need, other than adding those few words to that initial resolution, why we need an amendment.
Point noted. Thank you. Councillor Jones. Councillor Potter.
My concern is broad community consultation. So, I mean, we've had community consultation here before, but to me, a broad community consultation, if that includes the plebiscite, if that includes a vote that people have to come in and vote for, then that's great, but not just a consultation. So I'm not happy with the word consultation because I think it needs a proper vote for the people to vote on, not just consultation.
Yeah, and indeed the minister won't even accept an application, won't even attend to an application unless he can see, in his words, in the guidelines it says broad community support. Okay, broad community support is what they ask for. So it'd have to be more than consultation. You'd have to be able to demonstrate that the vast majority of the community do want the change. Councillor Duff.
Mr Mayor, I'm happy to change the word to broad community support.
Thank you, councillor. Okay, I'm happy to confirm that as the seconder. Who was next? Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, look, our inboxes honestly have been full, haven't they? And they've been full with all people's commentary around staying divisional. I think if I counted support for undivisional, I might have got 2. And let me tell you, we've had some emails. We have had numerous emails. This is not for us to decide in this term, in my opinion. It shouldn't be a discussion we're having. It's when the next election comes around, there could be, as Councillor Jones stated, 6 or 7 different councillors sitting in this room, and it'll be for them. The community support to date has been seriously positive in keeping divisions, hence we work with that. The cost, can I ask the question, Mr Mayor, and it's probably harder, and a rough figure, this would be a major cost to our ratepayers if we were to pursue this, and I think personally it's a decision for the next council or the council after that. As I stated earlier, this is a 5-year process if it come to fruition. Honestly, it's a 5-year process. Go back 5 years, what have we been through? We've had the worst drought in 150 years, we've had COVID, and we've had 12 months of the most unprecedented weather events. We've had 5 major weather events, which has cost this council almost $1.2 million. Just in triggering that major weather events. So I think we've got a lot more important things to do. I certainly appreciate the community's input. I put my hand up to represent Division 6 and I'm proud to do that and I will be proud to continue to do that for the next 6 months. Thank you very much.
Okay, further speakers to the amendment? Councillor Duff to close.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just hopefully the amendment becomes the motion because I just think for this and for all our decisions, it's about the community, about listening to the community, about getting the feedback and making decisions as an extended arm of the community because that's what I believe we are as councillors. So hopefully this amendment gets up. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the vote. Those in favour? Councillor Shoemaker, Councillor Duff, Councillor Potter, Councillor Otto. Those against, Councillor Erkins, Jones and Henshin. The amendment has been carried 4 votes to 3 and now becomes the substantive motion. Further speakers, Councillor Duff. No. Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really do believe in one of our core values as a councillor, as per our corporate plan. One of our core values is about unity. It's actually about working together for the betterment of this region. And I assure you, when I brought this forward, that was my honest intention. I absolutely love every square inch of this region, regardless of where I'm at. And I personally really would love to see our region work together better, because I do genuinely believe we are so much stronger when we embrace who we are, what we have to offer, and value each other. And I would just like to see, as a resident of the South Burnett, that regardless of where you live or what you stand for or what you provide to our region, that you are genuinely valued. And sometimes I fear that doesn't actually happen. And that, as a young person raising a family in this region, that does worry me. So personally, I would just love to see us work better together at the end of the day. And that's my honest intent.
Councillor, who was next? Councillor Erkins.
My concern is that I believe, and regardless of what it says in the minutes, I believe that the motion that we voted on was to seek advice on if the community decided that they wanted to go as an undivided council, that we would have the information. I'm pretty upset at some of the emails, and you guys might have had heaps. I only really got them from one area. There was, I was not bombarded. I had probably 5 emails, one that I got from this morning, and that was from an Anango resident. The rest of them were not in my division, so I don't know. I'm not actually sure what divisions they were from. But I'm concerned because I really believe that we were on the same thoughts, that, it didn't hurt to get that information, that we would all, we had a big conversation about community consultation, and I actually said in that I didn't want to be in the same position that I was put into when we did the community consultation at Mergen, where we went up with questions designed to give the answer, I feel, that was wanted. I said that at the time. That's not, in my opinion, what community consultation is. And I thought we were all on the same boat. We all understood that if we were going to be doing something like this, either way, we wanted to get the opinion of our community, and that's what we would be making a decision on. The reason I voted against the amendment, because I thought it was just, we didn't need to have that in there. The whole process is about doing community consultation. So again, it makes a division. The motion was very clear that we sought advice and followed what happens, So why put in little bits? I don't know why we add little bits and why we have to keep doing this sort of thing. If we all understand and all agree, we should be able to move a motion and move forward. But I just, the division that we talk about is, people going out and fear-mongering on things. And I'm just not happy with that. We should be a team. And that's, I've always played team sports. I thought you guys had too. And I thought we were in here as a team. And as a team, we're working for the best ever for our community, not trying to score points here and score points there. People ask me, are you happy with being in council? I love being here. I love helping to promote our area, to improve our area. But I do not like the fact that it just seems to be so much point scoring, and just to point score, not to actually improve anything. So that's why I voted against the amendment, but I'm probably happy with it as it stands now.
Okay. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And I just want to explain why I voted against it, because people in the gallery may think, well, what a lunatic he is. He moved something. I didn't support it because, Councillor, through you, Mayor, to Councillor Duff, we're elected by the community to represent the community. And by having that in there, if deemed necessary, so after broader community support, if deemed necessary, that is our role. Now, if we have broader community support for either way, we have to come back in here and make a decision on behalf of it. So that's what I was suggesting with my motion, with the if deemed necessary. Now, if we haven't got the support, you don't do anything. But if there is a number of people that come through, and that's where Councillor Shoemaker has come from, she has brought in, it's just like bringing in notices of motion that we discuss. And you talk about being blindsided, they're just coming in one after the other. We have to deal with them. And the councillor just brought this to the table to have the discussion because she has been approached by a number of people. And that's why I didn't support your amendment, simply because picking and choosing, and it says all I was putting in there, if deemed necessary. And I'm happy, after broader community support, if deemed necessary, I would support that amendment. Simple as that. But I just think that, yes, these people have elected us to make decisions in here. And not all of them are easy. You have to put yourself on a limb and listen to what they're telling you and make the decision what you think is best for the whole of the region. So that's why I didn't support that amendment, simply on those words being dropped out, because it does come back to us. If deemed necessary, if we deem it necessary that there is, or the next council deem it necessary, that there is support out there for either or. If there's no support, you don't have to do anything. If there's support, you have to do it. And if we deem it necessary to continue the fight or take this out or go and investigate it, I think it's our duty of care to our ratepayers that elect us and pay us to do a job. So that's why I didn't support that amendment, Mr. Mayor. And if that was to be put in there, and I know it's picky, but it's just the fact that if it was on after, if the council deemed necessary, I would support that amendment.
Okay, further speakers before we go to Councillor Duff to close on her amendment? Or whoever's closing, I'm a bit confused now, Mr. CEO, with these amendments. It seems to me it's Councillor Duff's, this one. So I will be giving her the right to close. Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Mr.
So Councillor Jones gets to close, but he's speaking against it. So how does he do a right of reply against?
Add 3 words in there and I'll speak for it.
How do we have someone spoken against a motion then give right of reply to a motion?
Oh, sorry.
So now,
And this is me where I was going before about pink and blue clubhouses. You end up with people that actually have an motion amended that actually don't agree with the amendment. So it's a quirk of the system. Now, how you close it out, Mayor, maybe it's best you close this one out, but it is... once an amendment moved, it doesn't change the intent of the resolution, which that does not. And to use the clubhouse example, if the amendment was that we don't paint the clubhouse, well, yes, that changes the intent of the original motion. But so move second amendment, the amendment's debated, voted on, the amendment becomes the resolution. Yeah, I know it's quirky, but
it's a little bit hard to follow from a common sense point of view, but thanks for your advice. And can I say, just to light this up a bit, I'm sure if the clubhouse was to be painted pink, Councillor Duff would be fighting for that. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I just, in response to what Councillor Jones said, if you add those 3 words, that actually changes the whole, because after broad community support, I don't believe we should have if deemed necessary, because the whole thing is about doing community support. So just to clarify.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, any further speakers? Councillor Henson, your opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, honestly, they're almost one and the same motion. And we're getting seriously picky here. I'm happy to go on record to say that by the end of the 24 election, there'll be councillors for the next 4 years, and I would be very comfortable in saying from the response that we've had that in 2028 we'll be staying a division council. So I'd be happy to have that on record, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, well, Councillor Duff, I'll let you speak and then I'll close, I think. As the CEO has indicated, perhaps I should close this one under the confusion we've got. So thank you.
I'm supportive of the amendment that has now become the motion, and to me, it is a big deal. I think that it is a big deal whether it's the wording after broad community support is, to me, is the bottom line. So, and I think that was lacking in the original motion by Councillor Shoemaker, and I felt blindsided, and I stood up and spoke strongly for to retain the divisions, and I spoke against even going to go through the process of even getting to this point, because I thought that there hadn't been any community consultation from anywhere in our region. So to me, I'm absolutely supportive of it now with that broad community support, because in the experience I've had, that's been lacking in other councils, and hopefully as we move forward, not lacking in this council, because it's, to me, what I think the perfect scenario for divisional council is where councillors are parochial, that they bring to the table the voice of their community. Blackbutt, Nanengo, Wandai, Mergen, Kingaroy, every councillor brings those their concerns of the community passionately to the table. I love that. I hate it when you can't be passionate for your division. We represent our divisions, and I believe that that's perfect divisional council representation, is being parochial, being passionate, but then as a collective, we work together to make a good decision for all of the communities. And that is local government to me at its very best. So I hope that we can move forward using that model. Thank you.
Can I just have one more question, Mr. Mayor, to you?
Indeed.
Can you just explain to me then, with the last bit of that amendment, arrangements would only be considered by the council after the 24 elections after broad community support. Now, how do you gather broader community support without doing, what are we indicating in that particular wording, and how do we get to know whether we've got broader community support? If there's nothing in there to state how we're going to gather broader community support or whatever.
Yeah, thanks. I'll take your question. Thanks, Councillor Jones, and happy to answer it as best I can. That's what the department's guidelines say. So the department says there's basically two things. Number one, there needs to be a resolution from council to go down this path, and that's what Councillor Shoemaker's resolution went to. And secondly, there needs to be a demonstration of what the government calls broad community support, majority community support. They don't actually tell us how we're supposed to evidence that. How do we actually substantiate that to the government that we've got that? Do we undertake a citizens' referendum? Do we send a notice out with the rates and then have everyone tick a box and send it back? I don't know what the process would be, but I would imagine that the minister was going to want to see some evidence to demonstrate that. Well, I don't imagine, I know, because the guidelines clearly say the minister will want to see the evidence. If the department can't see that we can evidence that, they're not going to refer it to the Change Commission. They're going to bounce it back to us. I guess that'll be a matter for the new council if they decide to reopen this debate to determine how they want to actually demonstrate to the minister that they've got broad community support. Whether they do what Councillor Potter's suggesting, other people have said we send out a rates, something with the rates. Other people have said that we do a citizens' referendum. It would be a matter for the next council to work out, I guess.
So I guess that's why I say we're not going to put a resolution to the minister or anything like that if we don't deem it necessary to be done. So if we don't think that we need to deem this to be necessary, nothing would happen. But on that...
I guess you're now moving back into debating again, Councillor. I was happy to answer your question. Everyone's had their opportunity to speak, and they get one opportunity under our standing orders. So I think you've made your point. Thank you. I say that respectfully. Thank you. Look, if I can now just close this debate, just to clarify a few things. Look, this process started on the back of a resolution that came to council from Councillor Shoemaker, supported by Councillor Henshin, that we, as the seconder, and both councillors, you did speak passionately for a motion on the 22nd of February that said that the council requests the Change Commission conduct a review of council's electoral arrangements to go from a divided to an undivided local government area. Now, as for fear-mongering, I'm not sure who you refer to, Councillor Erkins. I hope it's not me, because I didn't bring this motion to the council. I had no intention of even considering this matter. I was blindsided by it when it was raised in the council meeting on the 22nd of February. I had no idea. I swear on the Bible, I had no idea that this was coming forward. Councillor Jones, you spoke about notices of motion blindsiding you. But they're circulated by executive services staff days prior to a council meeting for us to consider. They're also in the agenda with reports to read. This came off the floor with no opportunity to consider it. Now, please let me finish. Please let me finish. Then there'll be no other discussion. I'm going to finish this, and then we're going to go to the vote, okay? Because everyone's had their chance to speak. Okay. So I certainly haven't been fear-mongering. I have absolutely been going out to the community through whatever platforms I could, be it on radio, on social media, Councillor Erkins, on social media, to...
Mr Mayor, I move that the motion be put to the vote.
I'm entitled to an opportunity to have my 5 minutes to speak. Mr CEO, am I not? So you're denying me the opportunity to finish what I'm saying?
Mr Mayor, I believe that you have had ample time. You've spoken just about after every one of us. You're denying us any... You've told us we can only speak the once. You've spoken after each.
No, I haven't. I have not yet spoken to the substantive resolution, to the motion. Everyone's had a chance to talk to this motion except me. Is that correct, Mr CEO? That is correct. Now, I'm having my chance to speak to the motion. Am I not entitled to that, councillor?
Procedural motion.
Okay.
I'm asking the matter be put to the vote.
Okay, I have further comments that I'd like to make to the community about my views on this, because I absolutely support this. I think Councillor Duff's on the right track. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Okay, so I'll read the council's policy, a procedural motion that the question be now put may be moved, and where the procedural motion is carried, the chairperson will immediately put the question to the motion or amendment to that motion under consideration. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Shoemaker. Okay, we'll now go to the vote. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. That brings the meeting to a close. Sorry? Oh, the procedural. So what do we do now, Mr CEO? Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry.
So that was the procedural,
Yep.
Mayor.
Sorry,
So we'll now vote on the
Mr Mayor,
motion.
I didn't know that I was voting on the procedural motion. I thought I was voting on the actual motion.
Okay,
So
so
you-
to the community, I apologise. I know this looks like a complicated process, and it certainly is.
So I'm voting, I would like to vote against the motion being put, so we need to, I
right,
didn't know
I'll-
what I was voting on.
Thank you, councillor. I'll call it again. We've got a procedural motion that there's no further discussion, that the matter now be put to the vote. It's been moved by Councillor Erkins, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker. Okay, we're voting on that procedural motion. Those in favour? Okay, those against? All right, I'm with you, Councillor Duff. Okay, those in favour? 5 councillors. Those against, Councillor Duff and Councillor Otto. All right, so that ends the debate. It will now go to the vote. Okay, we're now voting on the substantive, Mr CEO. Okay, the substantive motion as presented. Those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you all. That brings the meeting to a close. Thank you all for your participation, and thank you to the community for your interest. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.